listen-only mode.
Thank you so much for joining us today for the School on Wheels workshop on how to get your student ready for back to school. My name is Amanda Carr and I'm the engagement specialist at School on Wheels. I'll be presenting the workshop today, and I'm also joined by Natasha Baez, who's the team leader of volunteer engagement.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining.
Just a couple of notes before we get started. For purposes of sound quality, all participants are currently muted. To ask a question at any time, please enter into the question pane. We will choose the order of questions and read them out loud. You may also wish to use a headset for better sound quality. So let's move on to our agenda for today. Okay, so our agenda is 3 main points. So we're going to talk about setting goals. We're going to talk about getting organized with your student, and we're going to talk about communication with both parents and teachers. Finally, at the end, we will have time for questions. So you can ask a question at any time, but you can also save it to the end. So starting with setting goals, or actually before we get to the setting goals, I would like to do a poll quickly. And the poll is about how long you have been working with your student. So you can go ahead and answer that really quickly. Alrighty. See some answers.
And then here's the results.
Okay, so 30% of you are at no session so far, and then a few of you have had 1 to 4 sessions, and then 30% at 5 to 10, and 20% more than 10. So it's a variety of experience with your student. So this might be the first time you're starting a school year with a student or with this particular student. So these suggestions are definitely for both, whether or not you know your student well, they can be applied to either situation. So good. Okay, so as far as setting goals, we're going to talk about starting, why is this important? Why is it important to set goals at the beginning of a school year? Well, for one thing, it's going to help to organize your sessions. It's going to give students and you, tutors, a sense of purpose. So it's not only about what you do day to day, but it's about what you want to accomplish in the long term. And this can be really good for students because it can be stressful for students to be uncertain about what to expect from tutoring. So this is going to help to mediate some of that uncertainty. And once you start seeing some achievable outcomes with your student, it's going to really motivate them to continue tutoring. So it's a really good thing to do. And I know that setting goals isn't something that comes naturally to students or adults for that matter. It's definitely something that's a learned skill, and it's a skill that you can teach your student and help them develop. And it's really not too early or late to start. You might think even if you're working with a little student in kindergarten for 2nd grade that they might be too young for goals, but they're really not as long as the goals are reasonable. So we will talk about that and the differences between the grade levels here. So for students in grades K through 5, one of the most, it's important to know that younger students might have difficulty thinking in the long term. So they're not going to want to, you're not going to want to plan for a whole year of goals or even 6 months. You're going to really want to deal with more measurable, smaller amounts of time, so thinking 4 to 5 sessions maybe, a month or 2, and thinking about what you can achieve in that time. So what you want to do is keep the goals simple. Keep them achievable for this student, and you might want to give them also examples of what the goal might be, because they might not have any idea. If you ask, what do you want to accomplish? What's your goal? They're not going to really have an answer for you probably. But if you say, okay, well, why don't we think about reading a page on your own without any help, or learning the 4 times multiplication facts, or learning to count without using fingers. Those could all be goals to work on with your student. and they'll start to understand once you talk about what a goal is. Okay. And you can also, if you don't really have any idea where to start, you can use an academic program assessment to identify areas that your student might need help with. So our academic program, as many of you know, is available on our website. So what you want to do is just go to our volunteer resources page and pull up the academic program, and we have assessments for grades K through 7 there. So if you do an assessment with your student, you will automatically get results back if you do it online, and it's going to give you ideas for what to work on with your student. So we recommend at the beginning of a school year to do the previous year's assessment with your student. For example, if your student is starting the 4th grade, then do the 3rd grade assessment with your student, and if they can complete that very easily or without much struggle, that means they're probably at grade level. If they can't complete it without struggle, or they have many answers wrong, that means that they're definitely a little bit behind in grade level. So you're going to want to go back a year or two and do a couple more assessments to find out where your student is. Once you get those results back, you will have some idea of goals that you could set with your student. So that's about, it's how to define a goal. As far as keeping on track with the goal, one thing that we really suggest is to use visuals. So to use a worksheet or some sort of goal tracking sheet, and I'll show a couple examples in a second, that will help the student, that you can keep with you, you can bring to your sessions, your student sees it, and you remind yourself and reinforce often what the goals are. So you might want to start each session saying, okay, remember this month we're learning to do our ×4 multiplication facts, and this is the reason why. Let's look at our worksheet and see why we're doing that. And you can spend about 10 to 20 minutes on your goal and then move on to other things. So we also suggest that you keep track of your sessions. So every session you work on your goal with your student, give them a sticker chart, and if you have 5 or 6 weeks, say, to reach your goal, or 8 weeks, whatever the time frame is, once that sticker chart is filled out, that's going to be a real matter of pride for the student. And even if they haven't completely finished their goal by that time, they're still going to feel like they've made progress. And also rewards. So like the completed sticker chart would be a great reward. You can print out a certificate of completion from online that you can give to your student, and that can be really fun. You can also reward your student with a book or a small prize that you can ask your regional coordinator for. We definitely don't want you to spend your own money on those kinds of gifts, but it's definitely something that School on Wheels can supply if you're interested. And ultimately, the goal is for students to take pride in their accomplishments. So here are a couple examples of goal sheets that I just actually put in grade elementary school goals into Google search and did an image search, and this is what came up. So there's a lot of examples online. You can find one that works for you and your student. So you can see how simple these ones are. It's just my goals by the student's name, and then my goal is, my target date is, and to reach my goal I will do these 3 things. So they might be like practice every day, or practice with my tutor, and then determine how you know when you've reached your goal. Well, if you're doing multiplication facts, maybe you reach your goal when the student is fluent and can do them without prompting. And the other one too is another good one to use for those younger students. Okay. So what about when you're working with an older student, a student in middle school or high school? Well, students in upper grades are going to be capable of longer-term goals, and they are going to kind of be more aware of what they need help with. So for a little kid in kindergarten, first, second grade, they might not know what exactly they need help in, so that's why assessments are really great. But an older student is going to feel, oh, I really don't know how to do long division or something like that. They're gonna know a little bit more about where they need help, and they are going to be more invested in sessions for sure if they are able to help define what they need to know and how they would like the sessions to run. So you really want to encourage that student-led tutoring that we talk about. We want to make sure that the students are helping to define their goals and that they are really aware of the benefits that they're going to get from tutoring. And this is really essential with high school students because they're not going to be invested if they don't have that kind of input into it. Okay. So for older students, the goals could be academic, like we talked about for younger students, and they could also be bus program related. So I'm going to talk about the bus program in just a second, but it is more of a mentoring approach. So you can definitely use some of those ideas in our bus program to create goals with your student. For academic grades, it could be, say, bring last year's D in math up to a B, or any combination of working on science or English, whatever they need help with. So what if students don't know what goals they would like to establish? Some of them might have a good idea, as I said, others aren't going to have much of an idea. So one strategy you can do is look at old report cards from the previous year and see what subjects they struggled with the most. So that's also going to kind of give you a good background for your students. So sometimes the students that we work with, they might have that paperwork, sometimes they don't. You can sometimes, ask the parent. Sometimes it might be still online if they're in the same school from the year before. They have their records from previous years. A lot of students now have those online classrooms. That's where they get their homework and keep track of everything. So you can look at take a look at that. And you can also look at the course syllabi for your students' classes, and some teachers will give out for the semester what they're going to cover, and it's a good idea just to kind of familiarize yourself with what your student is going to be expected to do. And they might also be very far behind with just simple core knowledge from their frequent moving. So they might need basic help with math or English language arts. So you could definitely do a grade 6 or 7 assessment from the academic program with your student if they're in middle school or even lower grades in high school, just to see if they are up to speed with their math and English skills. And there are also some other assessments you can do online, and I will try to post some things with the workshop afterwards so you can take a look. You're going to also want to review and define, so you're going to want to do a goal setting sheet with them, just like with the younger kids. And I have an example of a more advanced one I'll show in just a second, which is the SMART sheet. And you're going to also want to establish priorities. So this could be difficult, especially when your student has a lot of homework, and they might, for instance, always have math homework, but maybe they're really good at math. Maybe they have, they don't really have much problem and they can kind of complete that stuff on their own. Well, if that's the case, then you're going to want to focus on something else in your sessions. You're definitely not going to want to focus on the things that they could easily do on their own, even if they have homework on it. So you might want to just say, okay, well, we want to get your reading level up, so we're working on reading, but let's do a couple math problems and then move on to the reading, something like that. So with older students, you can use a calendar to map out sessions in progress. You can, use a planner for them. We'll talk about planning in a second, but it's always still good. They might not respond to a sticker chart, of course, but you still want a visualization of how many weeks you have to work and what progress you're making. And as far as rewards, you want to think about praise as a reward so that they just feel accomplished from your praise. You can also do books and even a field trip. Sometimes older students will really respond to the prospect of going someplace fun, like a museum, or you could do like a college campus visit, as long as you follow the field trip procedures. So if you have been working with your student for 3 months, you can ask your regional coordinator how to get that set up. Okay, it's really important that you follow the procedures, but it can be a great reward for a job well done. And you also want to think about your goal, the goals that you're setting with your students. What is going to be the most essential thing to set them up for success after tutoring? So, you know, if the student is very far behind on basic math, that's going to be your goal, right? Because you want to get them up to grade level so that they can be successful in math after you are no longer tutoring them. So that's another thing to kind of think about when you're establishing your priorities and defining those goals with your student. So here's an example of a goal setting sheet for an older student. And, you know, the SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And, you know, each of these columns kind of asks the student some questions. Well, why do I want to accomplish this? What are the requirements? What are the constraints? So problems that they might see, but also, you know, why is it important? Measurable is how you're going to measure progress, how you're going to know when the goal is accomplished. Achievable, how can the goal be accomplished, and what are the logical steps? Relevant, is it a worthwhile goal? That's really important, right? You want it to be something that's worthwhile for the student. And you know, how does that goal relate to their long-term objectives? Also time-bound, how long is it going to take? So generally we work with our students on average for about 4 months before switching students. So some of you might be working with students at emergency shelters where you're really only seeing them for you know, 2 or 3 sessions and then they're moving on. Some of you might be working with students for a year or more, depending on what shelter location you're at. So, you know, you definitely have to keep the timing in mind. And obviously some goals aren't going to be as appropriate for students that are just there short term. Okay. So just a little bit more on goals for older students. I talked about the BUS program just very briefly, but you know, goals don't have to be academic. They can also, you know, students might benefit even more in these upper grades if you can help them with job or life skills. Things like learning how to write a resume is really important, right? Maybe your student is trying to get a job, a part-time job during high school, or maybe they want to work as they go through college, right? That's going to really help them. Asking for letters of recommendation, that's a skill, and I think that we don't think of it often as a skill, especially if you've gone to college and you've had a relatively privileged life. It's something that kind of comes naturally, right? Maybe your parents taught you, but maybe, you know, maybe a teacher did. But, you know, asking for letters of recommendation and emailing teachers and employers, that's a really important skill to be, you know, to teach them this strategies of how to be polite. What are the conventions? You can't just email and say, hey, give me this, right? So that could be a really important thing. Also, help with interviews. You could do mock interviews with your student if they're thinking about applying for college or a job. So those all could be great goals for you in your sessions. You can also work on the college post-graduation planning. And even just graduating from high school planning. So the BUS program is going to help you learn about the options. It's going to help your student go through the steps for completion and teach you about applications and financial aid. So, you know, one of the, you know, sad realities is that a lot of homeless students end up not finishing high school. So with those kids in the upper grades, if you're working at a group home or you're working one-on-one, it's really important to kind of think about how these goals might really be beneficial for them after your tutoring. Okay, great. So moving on to the next topic on organization. So again, I'm going to split it up into the lower grades and the upper grades, just because they're slightly different. Okay, so organization is another thing that doesn't necessarily come naturally to most of us. I know for me, I'm not the most organized person. I have my own quirks, but you know, everybody kind of works out what works for them in your job or at school, and it needs to be taught, right? You need to kind of teach different skills to students so that they can therefore kind of figure out what works for them. Okay, so Common problems with younger kids is they might forget to bring assignments to and from school. So they, it's just something that they're not really practiced in, especially the younger ones. So that can be something that you work on. They might also forget to write down assignments. This is a little bit less of a problem now that everything is online for the most part. But if it's a more old-fashioned classroom, they might still have paper assignments and need to write things down. They're also not going to know how to set aside time for homework. That's not a thing that comes naturally to kids, right? I mean, they come home from school or back to the shelter and they're tired after a long day. They might have gotten up at 5 or 6 in the morning, and now they're here and they just want to relax and play, and that is a completely natural response to dealing with the stresses of school. But you can also help your student kind of integrate the homework time with the more fun time. Okay. So solutions. We're thinking folders here. So, just a simple two-folder system, completed and to-do homework. A folder for the things that they need to do and a folder for the stuff that they've already done. You can also show the student how to use an agenda or weekly calendar, especially the older students. We wouldn't want to do this with a kindergartner for sure, but just to kind of introduce them to the idea. Okay. You can also spend a few minutes at the beginning of each session just checking in with your student and seeing if they've completed everything from the week. A lot of students in these grades get a homework packet that they'll have to, so it depends on when you're meeting during the week, but you can check to see that they're working on their packet and really encourage them to work on it when you're not there. Sometimes students will kind of save the whole packet for tutoring, and of course we don't have enough time to work on that with them. We only have an hour or maybe 2 hours a week. So it's a good thing to kind of teach them how to set aside that time. If a student is going to has persistent problems bringing work home, this is another thing you could do. You could talk to the parent or you could talk to the teacher about strategies to help the student. We're going to talk about that in a second. Okay, so being organized for the lower grades is a little simpler than once the student has moved on to middle school. Okay, once they've moved on to middle school, there's a whole different organizational challenge. For one thing, they most likely are switching classes. They're going to different classrooms for different subjects. And if you're working with a student who's transitioning from elementary to middle school or middle school to high school, those students might be particularly affected this time of year. They're trying to figure everything out. So if you are working with one of those transitional students, take time at the beginning of your sessions to kind of say, hey, how's it going? Like, how's the new locker? Like, are you finding your classes okay? And making sure that they're okay with the new system. Okay, so some common problems with older students. Again, forgetting assignments or failing to write them down. That's, going to be always a persistent problem. Not being able to prioritize assignments. Now that's another learned skill. So what are the most important assignments and when are they due and all of that. So if a student is juggling all of a sudden multiple classes that have multiple deadlines, they're going to get confused if they haven't been shown how to kind of organize that all. Also, not breaking a large project into a manageable size. So some students might procrastinate and spend a whole month not doing a project that's due the very next day. And if you find your student is one of those, you're going to help them. You're going to help them look at, okay, what are the big projects that you have this year, and what deadlines do we need to kind of think about to accomplish those goals. And also just, related to that is just procrastinating. We all do it sometime in our lives or another. So it's really good to talk about that and, why we procrastinate, and to let your student know that you've procrastinated too. And then talk about solutions that help work for you. Ultimately, it's just going to cause more stress, right? Once you've procrastinated and then something is due and you're working on it, trying to get it done, you're not going to do it as well, and also it's going to be a lot of stress. But for the first time, these kids in middle school and high school are being asked to really take responsibility for keeping track of their work, and the parents might not have the time or the experiential knowledge to help them keep organized, especially if they didn't go to school in the U.S. or they dropped out of school. They might, the parents might not have those skill sets. So it is important that the tutor kind of see, how is your student keeping organized? Are they showing up to your session with just a book and no papers? Do they come with a backpack full of just loose leaf papers falling everywhere? Or do they have their binder and they're pretty neat? So it's going to depend on your student. Some of them are going to be more organized than others. So a great thing to do is to share the tools that you use to keep organized, and also to ensure that they have the proper organizational materials. So whether that's a binder with color-coded folders and notebooks, a planner, whatever they need to keep organized, we have those resources. So if your student needs more materials, just let your regional coordinator know, and we will get those to you. Okay. You want to also go over the course syllabi with your student. Ask if there's any major projects coming down the pipeline. Show them how to break the project up, and just about how to plan for long and short-term assignments. So this is going to be, this could even be a goal in itself. A goal could be getting organized, okay, and you work on getting organized, and every session you spend 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes talking to your student about organization, helping them get organized, helping them plan out their semester. That would be a great goal, especially with the older students. So you can keep that in mind. All right. So we're going to move on to our final topic, which is communication. Now, communication with parents and teachers, both of those groups have their own challenges. But if you can learn to communicate with parents and teachers in effective ways, it's really going to help you understand your students' needs, and it's going to help them understand your students' needs as well. But it, of course, can be difficult. Okay, so we're going to offer some best practices here. So for parents, it's really important to keep in mind that most parents are very interested in their child's education and want them to be successful. So whether or not your parent seems engaged or not, they have different stressors going on in their lives, and even though the education might not seem like it's the top priority, they deeply care about their children's success. Okay? So it's important to kind of go in with that feeling of goodwill that your parent does want your student to succeed. They might be embarrassed about their own lack of education or ability to help their children with homework. So there is that kind of level there of maybe not being as engaged because they don't know the answer, or they don't feel comfortable doing homework or discussing organization, something like that. So to kind of help to mediate that, it's important not to make demands on parents. So you want to create a mutual feeling of trust between you two. So it's important not to say, hey, you have to do this, but kind of ask them if they are able to do things, like check the student's homework. Try to speak with parents for a couple of minutes after tutoring sessions. So if you're at a shelter and your student has just kind of come down from their room and you don't really see mom or dad, you can say to your student at the end, hey, I'd love to, if your mom has a minute, would you ask her to come down and just talk to me for a second? And doing that for the first few sessions, it's going to, for one thing, it can help with communication and missed sessions. So the more you get to know the parent, the less likely they're going to be like canceling on you or not showing up, that kind of thing. But it's also going to show them that you really care about their child, and you just want to kind of check in with them. And it doesn't have to be a long time, maybe like not even more than a 5-minute conversation. So discuss your students' strengths and weaknesses with the parents. They might have some insight about what their child needs help with the most. And we do that in the first session. We we talk to parents and get a sense of what the student needs help with, but it's good to kind of keep that updated. And if you have done, this goal setting and organization, you can tell parents about the goals. Okay, so hey, so-and-so, we're planning to, by the end of this month, this is what our goal is, and ask if they'd like to help. Would you like to, check that, little Jimmy is working on his multiplication facts every night? And they might be eager to do it, or they might not have time. Okay, and if they're not really eager to do it, then don't press it. Just accept their decision and move on. And another really important thing to do is to praise your student's abilities and to really say how great the student is and how hard they've been working. Parents are going to be very proud of the student, and it's going to help you to build the bond of trust. So they'll be more likely to want to talk to you. So that's just kind of some basic communication tips with parents. And some parents, will be more or less responsive depending on, just their personality and what they have going on in their lives. And it's really, up to the tutor to just kind of accept whatever happens in that relationship and move on. Obviously, your primary relationship is with the student. So teacher communication can be a little trickier than parents. And we have a couple polls to do. So the first question is going to ask you if you've been able to be in contact with the teacher. All right. I think we're almost at, at 100% no. So none of you have been in contact with teachers, which is okay. It's definitely a difficult thing. So we have a second poll related to this. So the second question is why, basically, if you haven't communicated with your teacher, why? Okay. Okay, so the results of this one are promising because I think we can deal with this. So 80% of attendees say they did not have the information of the teacher to be in contact with them. And the second most popular is I didn't know the communication was encouraged. And then maybe one or two people have tried, the teacher has been unresponsive. Okay, great. So as far as teachers, so if the primary issue is not having information, well, that's easy enough to get. So what we can do is all you have to do is ask your regional coordinator. At the beginning of your relationship with your student, you filled out that tutor-parent-student agreement. And the parent either gave you permission or did not give you permission to speak with this child's teacher. Mostly they do give permission. So I would say probably like 90% of parents are fine with you being in touch with the teacher. So you can ask the regional coordinator and they can either give you the email address or maybe the parent has the email address. The regional coordinator can help you reach out to the teacher and put you in contact. Sometimes the parents don't know the name of the teacher, so it is good just to start with your regional coordinator if you have no idea what the teacher's name is, and then you can kind of initiate communication either through your regional coordinator or you can reach out. So in order to get them to respond, and also I just want to say some people didn't know that communication was encouraged, and that's, definitely something that we want to work into the training a little bit more. So it's definitely not your fault. We want you to communicate with teachers, especially if your student is having issues or is, if you feel like extra material or will be helpful for your tutoring. Sometimes it's not really necessary, but sometimes you're like, oh God, I need to know what's going on in the classroom with my student, and that's really going to help me with my tutoring. Okay. So if the teacher, so you really want to keep your communications with the teacher very polite, to the point, and brief. Okay, teachers are very overworked, as we all know, and undervalued, as we all know, and they might have even hundreds of students. So we want to make sure that the communication isn't going to be a lot more work. So you want to kind of frame it as something that you're doing to help the teacher. Okay, so it's not that you're requesting all of this stuff, that it's more that by kind of responding to you, they're going to make their lives easier because you're going to be helping this student that needs help. So you're not looking for the teacher to do more work. It's really important to keep your requests reasonable. So don't ask for a lot of things right away. I would say, keep them and I have an example of an email right here. So you'll see, it's just very brief, to the point. It doesn't ask a lot of questions. It focuses on how the tutor is going to help him succeed in class. And that's good news, because if the student's doing well in class, then that's less work for the teacher, right? So don't do something like ask the teacher to check your student's bag every day to make sure he or she has their homework. Don't ask a lot of questions. Don't fill in a huge email with like all of the background information of your student right away. That might come up in future communications, but this is kind of the hook, that you just want something really brief, to the point, and something that's going to hook the teacher and kind of say, hey, okay, I'll respond to this. It doesn't seem too hard. I can give them like some links to online activities to do. So some teachers are going to be surprised and pleased that you're taking an interest and be like, hey, absolutely, let me send you some stuff. Others might ignore you. Other teachers might even have a negative opinion of your student. Maybe they think they're a troublemaker or that they're not smart. And it's unfortunate, but some teachers do think these things of students that are underprivileged. And they, if you praise the student a lot, saying, my student is so eager to do well, he's so bright, I really love working with him, they might even be surprised and say, wow, maybe I'm like misjudging the student. And then they will want to help. Don't be discouraged if you don't hear back right away. So you might send an email and then nothing comes of it. So you can send a follow-up email. You can call, but calls are less likely to go through because usually it's like calling the school secretary, and sometimes the messages get lost. So email is probably the best way. But there is another way, and especially if you have an older student, encourage your student to speak to his or her teacher after class. Okay, that is probably another life skill that you can teach your student. Many students that are growing up in homeless situations have never taken the initiative to approach a teacher, ask for help. Even if they need it, they might be shy, they might not know what to say, they might feel embarrassed, they might think that the teacher doesn't like them, or they might think it's not cool, right, to be the teacher's pet. I don't want my friends to see me doing this, okay? So, but we know as adults that are, in the workforce or, going through school, how important it is to be able to talk to people in situations of authority. So if you send an email and you haven't gotten a response back, if you're working with a student who's in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, you can say, hey, will you ask your teacher? Tell them that you're interested in getting extra help and you're working with a tutor, and show them how to do it. You might even model what a conversation might look like, and that's going to be impressive to the teacher. Teachers look favorably on students who take an active interest in their own education. So if you can kind of teach your student how to do that, that's just going to benefit them. It's going to increase the teacher's esteem of them. And if this doesn't work, you can send another email and see what happens. Maybe get the parent involved if it's a really desperate situation and you really need to talk to the teacher. Sometimes parents will go to a parent-teacher conference or something like that, and you can kind of let them know, ask them to bring a note to the teacher or something like that. Unfortunately, sometimes none of these approaches are going to work, and the teacher is just never going to respond. And that's just, ultimately if that happens, there's very little we can do. We can't obviously force somebody to respond to us. So if that's the case, if that's what happens to you, you can tell maybe your regional coordinator might have additional resources. We have all of our resources on our website. So we have tutoring materials. You can always email me or Natasha for ideas about what to work on with your student. So we can help you if your teacher isn't really being responsive. But give it a try. I think the more you try, if you don't try, then you won't know, right? Okay. So we're going to wrap up in a second. There are a few other things to consider at the beginning of the school year. So school supplies, if you're working with an established student, maybe they need a new backpack. Maybe they got one a year before and it's missing or something like that. So just ask, do you need anything? Do you need pencils, paper, whatever? We can get that stuff to your student. New school jitters. Some students might be starting a new school or moving schools. They might not have any friends at the new school. Maybe they're nervous, and focusing on schoolwork in that period can be really difficult. Okay, so go easy on yourself and your student. Even though we want to set goals and we want to get organized, keep them reasonable and allow for some fun in your sessions. Make it so that your student is excited to come and see you each week. Maybe you spend 10 minutes just kind of decompressing and talking about something fun, a movie they saw, or some music that they like, or how are things going at the new school? Like who's your favorite teacher, or what's going on? Like what's lunch like? What's different about this school? And of course, we always have our own expectations for what we're going to accomplish. And you might have come up with a great challenging plan with your student to put into action, and then maybe your student moves suddenly, or your sessions don't go to plan and you don't have enough time to work on your goal. Just focus on those small successes, and remember that even teaching your student about organization or the need for goal setting is going to have a lasting impact on them beyond your tutoring relationship. Okay? All right, so it looks like we might have some questions. I am all done here with this content, so Natasha is going to kind of chime in with some questions for us.
Yeah, we had a question related to trauma. Are there specific strategies that could be used with students who are experiencing trauma? I imagine maybe this tutor is talking about domestic violence shelters where that's front and center. Do you recommend any specific tips on that?
Yeah, well, we do have several workshops on trauma and working with students and kind of who are going through like a domestic or other kinds of trauma. So you might want to first check out those workshops. They're all organized on our workshop library. So if you just go to our volunteer resources page to the workshop library and you click on, I think it's maybe trauma and behavior, or I think trauma has its separate category. You can see there might be a couple workshops on that. And I would say in general, I mean, as far as getting started with back to school, just being extra sensitive that they might be in a situation where they're starting school maybe at a new place. Maybe they are embarrassed about what's going on in their home life. They might be kind of just experiencing for the first time, or this is a repeated trauma. They've been, kind of uprooted from their home, or kind of dealing with those lots of issues that come up with trauma, traumatic experiences. So I would just say go easy on those students, be really compassionate if things aren't going your way in tutoring. Start setting really simple goals and working with the student to kind of, sometimes students really want tutoring and it takes their mind off what's going on. So you might even see a student who's in a really who's had a traumatic experience, but they really are just engaged during their sessions because it's kind of a time away from that, right? So we want to make sure that we're not treating them differently as well. I don't know, do you have anything else, Natasha?
No, I agree. I think you covered those points on that. We do have a specific workshop on trauma and domestic violence that was incorporated into our orientation, but listening to it alone might help. So we had a second question on how do you build confidence in students and in their own skills?
Yeah. Yeah, confidence building is really important, especially if a student has gotten bad grades or maybe it just hasn't had a good relationship with teachers. So I do think that some of the strategies we've already covered, the idea of setting goals and just seeing what they can accomplish in each session is going to do a lot of it's going to go a long way to building the confidence of the student. So, if you do a sticker chart or something and just praise them all the time, like, you're doing so great, like, you've really improved these last 3 sessions. Can you imagine? We started and you didn't know any of your multiplication facts, and now look at how far we've come. So, we do say at School on Wheels that you're building the student's self-esteem as well as helping them with their grades. So you really can't praise the student enough, I don't think.
There was another question about how do you bring a student up to grade level? Maybe that's something I can address as well. I think having a goal of bringing the student up to grade level might be ambitious as a whole. Depends how far they are behind, and there's definitely a lot of different subjects that they're in, and they might be, strong at some and not as strong with other subjects. So I would recommend just going back to the assessments that Amanda mentioned in the beginning, and having them take an assessment and at least 1 or 2 grade levels below of what their current grade is, and then basically seeing what comes out of that assessment. But it'll give you a specific area to work on. So not just I'm going to get them from 1st grade to 3rd grade, but I'm going to work on English language arts, specifically writing a full sentence with punctuation correct and those kind of things. So that will give you a little bit more specific areas to focus on, and not just feel like you're kind of carrying a full load on your back and trying to completely change the student and where they are in their grade level. So that would be my recommendation. Amanda, did you have any others?
No, that sounds good. That sounds good to me.
And then there's one question just came in now. Actually, that was, I think we covered that. It was about confidence building, so you spoke on that.
Cool. Any other questions? Anybody? Anyone? Going once? Going twice? Well, you can feel free to email me at any point at my email address right there. Natasha is also nbayus, B-A-Y-U-S. I forgot to put you up there, Natasha. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
But you can feel free to ask us any questions after this, and we'd be happy to help out. And did you have something to say?
I was just going to say there's also one more email that might be easier to remember, but it's curriculum@schoolonwheels.org. And honestly, we'd be happy to help you anytime with specific resources. Just let us know what the issue is, what grade your student is, what specific things you're looking for. We have a lot in our program. We have resources on our tutoring resources and materials page. But in additionally, we'll be happy to research specific things for you. So just let us know. Email that curriculum@schoolonwheels.org. And then someone just asked about the slides for this presentation. Yes, we will post the slides up, and that'll include that sample email if you want to use that with a teacher. And we will also have a recording of the workshop.
Yep, absolutely. And I did want to mention before we leave that we have an in-person workshop coming up on September 10th, which is a Saturday. It's going to happen on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. at UCLA, and it's a math workshop. It's a hands-on math workshop, really good for tutors that are working with students in upper elementary and middle school. So we'd love to have you join us, and I've sent out a Tutor News email with the link to register. I'll send another one on Monday, so keep a lookout for that if you'd like to register, or just email me and I can register you. But we'd love to see you there. And thank you so much for attending today and taking some time out to to improve your tutoring and help your student. We really appreciate it. Have a great day.